On Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m., we gathered for a multi-platform vigil in honor of Matthew P. Taylor, our ministerial intern, whose picture I hope you can see behind me. There were over 300 people in attendance. Our kin from across the country, from Black Lives UU and Drum, Diverse Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministry, which is why we just all call it Drum, and Star King School for the Ministry, where Matthew attended, and from Matthew's spiritual communities, Covenant UU and Throp UU in California. We gathered online and here in the sanctuary with Justin's music to hold us in our grief. And I began with these words. It is said that surrendering to grief is an act of necessary courage. We are here to muster as much courage as we can in this moment, and to turn our hearts to each other and the very spirit of life, to hold space for our grief. On Monday, December 6th, in the evening, the fabric of life was torn asunder. Our beloved Matthew died and left this plane of existence to join the ancestors who are constantly by their side. Matthew, our ministerial intern at UCR, Matthew, our companion and leader of faith and deep spirit, Matthew, our friend with a heart as wide as the world. Matthew was a gentle giant with kindness that radiated out of them with ease and grace. And I also said at the vigil, I am not going to hide my tears from you. Beloveds, UCR is in mourning. One of the books that has kept me afloat in many moments is this, Grieving is Loving, Compassionate Words for Bearing the Unbearable. Does that not sound like the perfect title? For Bearing the Unbearable. And one of the readings in here is asking these questions. What can we do in their absence when life feels so incomplete? We can protest the fact they are not here and grieve. We can remember them and grieve. We can speak their name and grieve. We can see their light rise with the sun and grieve. We can imagine them alongside us and grieve. We can miss them more than words can express and grieve. We can live our lives to honor them, to make them proud, and we can grieve. We grieve and we love. Life goes on, but it doesn't. Because nothing is ever the same. Death has taken from us, but it hasn't. Because it cannot take what never dies, which is love. Love never dies. As I've been thinking about Matthew and holding us in our grief, I've been meditating on that idea all week. Love never dies. And since we're in this spiritual month of joy, I've been thinking through what it means to embrace those twin flames of eternal truths, both grief and love, pain and joy, brokenness and celebration, scarcity and abundance, mourning and gratitude, and trying to navigate to joy, actively seeking moments of joy. Can we try that for just a moment? Will you join me? Just turn your mind's eye inwards, perhaps close your eyes, and try and root around in your heart and your spirit. Find that spark of joy, just a flicker if need be, a thread, one cell, one heartbeat of joy. In our mind's eye, maybe we can inch towards a teeny tiny bright light within, that spark of the divine that connects all of us, and feel that place even for a moment, which is abundant love, which is radiant joy, which is expansive compassion. And what comes to me again and again is from the book of Exodus, chapter 3. When I navigate to that flicker of joy, in the book of Exodus, God calls Moses forth, tells Moses, "Go, deliver the people out of bondage." And Moses comes to the burning bush. The bush is on fire and yet is not consumed. And God says to Moses, "Take off your shoes, for this is holy ground." For this is holy ground. One of my dear colleagues, the Reverend Tandy Rogers, told me once that she always preaches and leads worship barefoot because of this passage in Exodus. For this is holy ground. Anywhere and everywhere there's the presence of the sacred is holy ground, sacred earth. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant to affirm and promote the interdependence of all of creation of which we are a part, which for me right now feels like a warm blanket. Therefore, this is holy ground. This is holy ground. That is holy ground. Here and there and everywhere is holy because life and creation all have that spark of the divine within it. So, my beloveds, I invite you, if you are so bold and willing, to take off your shoes. I'll even do it. I wore some of my most ridiculous heels today for that exact reason. Take off your shoes, take off your slippers, your socks, whatever may be on your feet, for this is holy ground. You don't have to, of course. Everything I say is invitational. But make that conscious effort to feel that connection between your body, the flesh of your flesh, and where you are connected to the ground. Even if it's through your chair or seat, there is ground below us. That feeling, that flow of connection down and back and forth and out and all around us is how we navigate to joy, to gratitude even, to hope and healing even. To be with our grief, to be with our struggles and our overwhelm. Can I get an amen? Did you hear that? I hope y'all heard that online. That was an amen to overwhelm. To be when life is being super lifey. To just be. Thank you for the amens online. It is a spiritual practice to return to the simple joy of remembering that which holds us all. My colleague and dear friend, the Reverend John Cresswell, started Awake Ministries at UU Annapolis almost a decade ago. Before I came to UCR 7 years ago, can you believe that? It's been 7 years. This is my 7th year, I should say. Before I came here, while I was still on active duty as a military chaplain, Awake Ministries was my spiritual home. There was so much love and heart there, and great inspiring music in that space. And Dana Edwards, our former DRE, who is now the Reverend Dana Edwards at Cedar Lane, would give a life coaching message at Awake. In one service, Dana shared a meditation exercise that has stayed with me ever since. The meditation goes like this: I am that. Everywhere you are, everywhere you look, every person you encounter, every child, every stranger, every neighbor or friend, I am that. Everything you touch or place you experience, I am this. I remember walking down a busy street in Washington, D.C. one chilly afternoon and beholding each person in front of me and thinking, I am you. I am you. Seeing the unhoused person over the grate and thinking, I am you. Seeing the children playing in a park and thinking, I am you. Looking at the trees, the flowers, and the grass, thinking, I am that. Turning upwards to the sky and heavens and clouds and thinking, I am that. I am you. You are me. We are one. We are all connected and held in love, for this is holy ground. In the midst of everything, as a people of faith and conscience, in the ongoing search for truth and meaning, we return to that simple joy, that small joy of remembering and practicing to live in such a way that this is holy ground. Remembering Matthew, for Matthew is here with us in this holy place. I will close with words from our beloved Matthew, calling and blessing us on. The world is calling you. Dear one, the world is calling you to be bigger, to be brighter, to be louder, to take up space, to make your mark. The world is calling you to love harder with your whole heart. I think I need to say that line again. To love harder with your whole heart. To dream beyond expectations placed on you, to live like there is no promise of tomorrow. The world is calling you to shift, to transform, to become anew. The world is calling you to come in, dear one. Amen. Ashe. And as we practice, this is holy ground. May our lives preach louder than our lips.